Week 5 of the Diddy trial is about to start, and Diddy is being kicked out of court for trying to bribe the jurors. Allegedly, juror 6 had been compromised and was working for Diddy. This proves that Diddy and his agents are still trying to influence the trial and things what they look like. Not only that, but one of the security officers also testified about how Diddy offered him $100,000 to stay quiet and get rid of the evidence, destroyed evidence, and victims disappearing one after another. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started.
Really interesting thing just happened in court. So a witness who had just finished wrapping up her testimony left. The jury was excused for lunch, and then the judge turned to the defense team and said to them, "Your client has been nodding vigorously during testimony towards the jury." Now, there are explicit rules in court that the defendant is not allowed to have any form of communication with the jury. And the judge said to the defense team, "Is that going to happen again?" And they said, "No, it is not going to happen again." The judge called it absolutely unacceptable and said that if it does happen again, Combs could be removed from the courtroom altogether.
Now to the case against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
All right, the judge issuing a stern warning to Diddy's defense today.
And Fox 6's Lisa Evers was inside the courtroom when it all went down. Lisa, what happened?
Well, Natasha and Steve, it's hot out here today, but it was scorching hot inside that courtroom on the 26th floor here at federal court where the Diddy trial is taking place. The judge scolded Diddy and said that he had to stop staring at jurors and nodding his head repeatedly while testimony was going on. The judge even saying that he saw it happen twice and warned Diddy that if it happens again, he will take action, which could include banning Diddy from the courtroom.
Day 23 of the Diddy trial ended with the judge deciding to investigate juror number 6. Days ago, Diddy was warned to stop communicating with the jurors, and now it looks like we finally know which juror he was communicating with. Juror number 6 has been exposed for lying about who he really is and where he is from. We already expected something like this. Diddy knows he can't control the evidence, but if he spends enough money, the jury could help him escape prison. Combs' lawyers are fighting to keep juror 6 in the trial and are calling this another attempt to incriminate a black man.
6 gave multiple inconsistent statements. The judge was going over his issues with juror number 6, and although he did not make a final determination, his thoughts on juror number 6 being removed were pretty clear. He stated that in the initial process, juror number 6 said that he lived in the Bronx with his fiance and his daughter. Then he turned around a while later and said that he moved to New Jersey with his girlfriend, and also said that his daughter lived in New Jersey. But then it changed again and said that his daughter lived in the Bronx with his aunt. And he referenced that this was only a couple of the inconsistent statements, that there were more. The judge then stated that he wants this juror off the jury because there is no reason why this man would have to lie, and the only reason he would lie is to be a part of the Diddy trial, which made him worry that this juror might have a malicious intent or an agenda. But then after the judge said that we need to strike this juror off of the jury, Diddy's team started bringing up more arguments about this. Diddy's lawyer said that this juror is important because they need diversity, and he is only one of 4 black men that sit on the jury. He also said that he doesn't believe that these inconsistencies were that big of a deal where this juror would have to be removed. Diddy's team was arguing that this is something that should have been brought up weeks ago, and nobody brought this up, and the government is saying, listen, I didn't even know about this back then. Then Diddy's lawyer said something really, really weird. They said, just bring this juror in, just question him. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure he'll be able to explain. But this is what the government wanted the judge to do earlier, and Diddy's lawyer said, no. That would be harassing the juror. Then the judge told everybody to get out of the courtroom, that they needed to have a sealed talk.
Diddy's lawyers are going to use this as an excuse to ask for a mistrial. They are purposefully making this trial look bad because they know that there is no other way Diddy can get away. So far, they have asked for a mistrial on 2 separate occasions, both of which have been denied. If they can somehow prove that the jury is compromised or that the investigation is biased, there is a possibility this case will be dismissed.
For the Sean Combs trial, his defense attorneys asked the judge to declare a mistrial in a late-night filing alleging prosecutorial misconduct. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky at the courthouse. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, George. Federal prosecutors, according to the defense, knowingly introduced false testimony that Sean Combs dangled a woman from a 17th floor balcony. It was Brianna Bongolan, a friend of Cassie Ventura, who told the jury that he lifted me up, then put me on top of the rail before throwing her onto furniture. The jury saw photos of a large bruise and her bandaged back. Combs denied it happened, and the defense argued hotel receipts show he was in New York at the time. The judge, though, is unlikely to grant the mistrial, and a fifth week of testimony is going to begin here this morning with Combs' ex-girlfriend, known by the pseudonym Jane, back on the witness stand. She's already tearfully told the jury grueling details of degrading sex with male prostitutes and how she feared if she stopped, Combs would stop paying her rent. Combs denies it all, says all the sex was consensual, and guys, Jane is expected to be on the witness.
This is not the first time that Diddy has tried to bribe someone and get rid of evidence. Eddie Garcia, the security supervisor at the hotel where Diddy Cassie testified that Diddy and Christian Coram pressured him into signing an NDA in connection to the assault. Diddy and his team desperately wanted to delete the video of him beating Cassie in exchange for $100,000 divided among members of the hotel security team. Garcia said he signed a non-disclosure agreement that called for his silence and the destruction of evidence.
Today, the jurors in his trial heard from a former security supervisor at that hotel. His name is Eddie Garcia, and he testified that not long after the attack happened, Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram, called him to ask for the footage. He said that he told her no on the phone, and again when she showed up in the lobby, said he told her no again. But that night, Garcia testified, Christina Coram called him again, and this time she handed the phone to Diddy. Garcia told the jury in Combs' federal trial that Puff said if that video ever got out, it would ruin his career. He testified that Diddy promised to, quote, take care of him if he could only find a way to get that video. And so, Eddie Garcia, who was promised immunity to tell the truth in court, reached out to his boss, who agreed to sell the video for $50,000. And the following day, Garcia brought a USB drive with that video to a meeting he said included Diddy, that chief of staff, Christina Coram, and one of Diddy's bodyguards. But before handing over that little USB stick, Garcia said he told Diddy he was worried. He was concerned he might be implicated in a crime if Cassie Ventura ever called the police and complained. At which point, according to Garcia, Diddy had a plan. FaceTimed Cassie and ordered her to, quote, tell him you wanted this too, Cassie. A freshly beaten up Cassie was there on the FaceTime wearing a hoodie and complied with Diddy's demand, Eddie testified. He then said he signed a contract swearing that no other copy of the video existed and swearing him to silence with $1 million penalty if he ever spoke of what he saw or of what he did, i.e. the payoff. In return, Garcia says he was handed a bag containing $100,000, double the amount that Garcia's boss had asked for.
The entire purpose of this case is to prove that Diddy was using his influence, connections, and money to abuse vulnerable victims. Even now, Diddy is still doing this. Mayor Eric Adams gave Diddy the key to the city weeks before Diddy was arrested. He knew what kind of person Diddy was, and he knew that an investigation was being conducted. Why was this allowed to happen? Allegedly, Diddy had dirt on Eric Adams, and that's what our. Why right after Diddy's arrest, Mayor Eric Adams was also arrested.
Big breaking news tonight. For the first time in the history of New York City, a sitting mayor has been indicted for crimes. ABC News reporting that Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury. We do not know yet the exact charges. Federal authorities have been investigating Adams and members of his staff, issuing subpoenas for documents and cell phones. Several members of administration have resigned, some of them also friends of Mayor Adams. Again, Eric Adams, the 110th mayor of New York, has been indicted by a federal grand jury.
Diddy always been the type of individual that want to have ups on the next person no matter what they was doing. He did the stuff to Ja Rule so he could go after Jay-Z. They not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them, and they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. Until the Fed say, hey, yo, listen here. Hey, buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love. That's when they're gonna start talking. And they're not gonna be talking in his favor. 250 cameras all over the house? Somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. When you that powerful, you didn't get that powerful without having
There is evidence that Diddy was involved in the destruction of evidence in official police investigations to somehow every time evidence against Diddy is discovered, the police accidentally lose it. Fingerprints were collected from Kid Kai's car, linking Diddy to arson, but these fingerprints were allegedly destroyed in an accident. Do they really expect us to believe that this is a coincidence?
Court has adjourned today in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Today, the defense requested a mistrial following testimony from an LA arson investigator, but the judge denied the request. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
A mistrial request denied in the federal criminal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. His defense team accusing the government of prosecutorial misconduct during the testimony of a Los Angeles arson investigator who spoke about fingerprints that were lifted from the front door of rapper Kid Cudi's home as part of an investigation into a break-in there in 2011. The investigator testifying that those fingerprints were destroyed, and when prosecutors asked the investigator if that was unusual, the defense accused them of trying to plant the idea that Combs was responsible.
The overall implication, according to the defense, is that somehow Sean Combs created that disappearance. The defense moved for a mistrial, and they moved for it because what they said is it's unduly prejudiced, because this is the whole theory of what the prosecution is putting forth, is that he has this control and can make these investigations disappear.
Instead, the judge striking that part of the testimony, telling jurors to disregard it. Right before, the jury heard from a police officer who responded to that break-in, testifying that he saw a black Escalade leaving the scene with plates registered to Combs' company Bad Boy Productions. The arson investigator also testifying about another incident at Kid Cudi's home in 2012 when his Porsche was set on fire. He testified about the smoke and fire damage in these photos that were shown to the jury, and said he determined the fire was targeted and started with a Molotov cocktail. Kid Cudi last week testified he believed Combs was responsible for both incidents after finding out he was dating Cassie Ventura.
Kanye West recently showed up at Diddy's trial to support him. A call between Diddy and Kanye was also recently released, where Kanye was telling Diddy he was going to do everything he could to help him. This public show of support is just the tip of the iceberg. Diddy is standing alone. He's backed by billionaires, some of them, like Kanye, bold enough to be seen. Others are working behind the scenes, quietly pulling strings and shielding Diddy from accountability. Their influence is the only reason Diddy has escaped justice for this long.
Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, has made a surprise appearance at Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial on Friday. He expressed support for his fellow rapper as he defends against sex trafficking charges.
Yeah, I hear you. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And have some fucking fun. Yeah. Having no fun, and then get behind the mic, have some fun, chop up them samples, get back on your man vibe, have some fun, get back to smiling.
Yeah.
These other motherfuckers, they're wasting your time, big. You know what I'm saying?
This trial is the first time that evidence against Diddy has been collected and made public like this. Photographs from the day of Diddy's arrest were also released, which show Combs' hotel room filled with bags of drugs, bottles of baby oil, and even guns. Officers from Homeland Security testified that they found $9,000 in cash at Diddy's hotel room, proving that just hours before their arrival, Diddy was engaging in a freak-off session. Also tonight, our first look inside Combs' Miami mansion the day federal agents busted the gate open last year to raid a federal agent testifying about the evidence, guns, and ammo seized from Diddy's home that were found near alleged freak-off supplies, which included dozens of bottles of baby oil and boxy soft platform heels, bondage restraints, and bundles of rope. Also photographed as evidence that day motivational messages on Combs' bathroom mirror that included you alleged an upward motion and drugs, lots of drugs, including ones found in plastic bags inside a Gucci bag and orange tablets with the Tesla logo that tested positive for.
Also tonight, our first look inside Combs' Miami mansion the day federal agents busted the gate open last year to raid it. A federal agent testifying about the evidence, guns and ammo seized from Diddy's home that were found near alleged freak-off supplies, which included dozens of bottles of baby oil and boxes of platform heels, bondage restraints, and bundles of rope. Also photographed as evidence that day, motivational messages on Combs' bathroom mirror that included "You a legend," an upward motion, and drugs. Lots of drugs, including ones found in plastic bags inside a Gucci bag and orange tablets with the Tesla logo that tested positive for LSD.
So we just got new exhibits today. Take a look at these photos that prosecutors have just released. They're pictures of Diddy's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, with what she says are bruises on her back and legs, which you can see here, and also a gash above her eye. Also released today some pictures from when Diddy was arrested in September of last year at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York. And a special agent with Homeland Security testified last week that some of the items found included baby oil, drugs, these pink packets of ketamine. There's also this image of a knife wedged in a door. Now, Combs, we aren't sure if he's going to be taking a stand in his own defense, but he denies all of the allegations against him. But will all of these witnesses really prove the government's charges that he was running this criminal empire and that he's guilty of sex trafficking?
What is this evidence that was so horrifying that Diddy had to pay $100,000 to stop it from getting exposed? According to testimonies from Jane, one of the victims testifying in Diddy's federal trial, Diddy would feed her drugs until she was throwing up and would her to be intimate with multiple men at the same time. The tapes Diddy had were filled with some truly disgusting footage, and Diddy knew that if this got out, he was never coming out of jail. Jane testified that the constant need to have sex for Combs' entertainment made her so tired, exhausted, and overwhelmed. "I felt like an escort. I'm not a trained actress," she said.
It's Diddy Day 19, and the drama is reaching a fever pitch here in this downtown Manhattan courtroom as one of Diddy's exes dropped new bombshells. Wiping away tears from her eyes, she testified she begged Diddy to stop the freak-offs, texting, "I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal." A social media influencer and Diddy's girlfriend from 2021 to 2024. She used the pseudonym Jane on the stand. She alleged Diddy coerced her into days-long sex parties with male escorts. Text messages from 2023 introduced today in court reveal just how badly Jane wanted out. "I don't want to be used and locked in a room to perform and fulfill your fantasies. I'm coming to the realization of what this really is. My heart is really in this, and it's breaking. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore." In one of the more dramatic moments, Jane testified that when Cassie's 2023 lawsuit became public, she fainted. She said when she read 3 pages that echoed her own experience with Diddy, it, quote, felt like a nightmare.
Jane's testimony is emotional, but I also say naturally emotional. Sometimes you have witnesses who will testify and get emotional at awkward points in their testimony, but Jane seems very authentic, and that helps her credibility in terms of what she's testifying to.
ABC News legal contributor, attorney, and host of Bad Rap, the case against Diddy, Brian Buckmeyer was in the courtroom.
The Sean Combs of last week and the Sean Combs of this week does seem slightly different in his demeanor. He doesn't seem to be actively engaging in, let's say, body language or communication with the jury. It could be because of this witness or that he knows they're on the verge of cross-examination, potentially starting tomorrow morning, so not as much vigorous head nodding.
Show out to Cassie right here, guys.
And there's more news about Diddy's freak-offs. Sean Deering, a male escort mentioned in court, is speaking with People about his time with Cassie at those sex parties. Sean said he was hired more than a dozen times, starting in late 2014 or early 2015, and the tone changed. I just would say overall, the tone was a little darker towards the last time I'd seen them. It was more of a doing this to please him type of spirit overall. I can tell when the energy was different. The former male escort claims Cassie was playing her role. It was evil, and she was under that. Sean says Diddy tried to hire him again in 2017, but he passed. Sean Combs has pled not guilty to all charges against him.
She says that Diddy forced her to take drugs and that she would be awake for days, that she was taking ecstasy and she said on these trips she was sometimes so high on drugs that she lost her sense of self. Jane has finally taken the stand. Now, we're not allowed to reveal her identity because she's testifying under a pseudonym. She's talking about how she and Diddy first met, how they met in Miami and how he was so sweet and loving and that he was actually dating a friend of hers at the time, but that the two of them started going on trips to Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas. During her testimony, she's been crying and it seems like it's been really hard for her to be up there on the stand. She is now talking about how Diddy would make her watch pornography while they were having sex with each other and that he would talk to her about his fantasies. He would make her wear lingerie and what she calls stripper heels, and that at one point he told her that he wanted to see her have sex with other men. That's when he took her to a hotel room and she starts describing how his assistants were in there setting things up with baby oil and the lighting and providing drinks. And she said that when she was there, he then hired an escort from a company called Cowboys for Angels. She said that this escort's name was Dawn and that she had sex with this man in front of Diddy while he masturbated. Jane testified that over the next few years, 90% of her relationship with Diddy centered around these sexual encounters with male escorts. She testified that she told Diddy multiple times, verbally and in writing, that she did not want to participate in these sexual encounters.
Combs was so violent and controlling that even the escorts hired for his freak-off parties were afraid of him. One of the male sex workers, known as the Punisher, took the stand last week and delivered chilling testimony. He described 8 to 12 encounters he allegedly had with Cassie Ventura, while Diddy watched, directing every move sitting in the shadows. According to High's account, Diddy would instruct him on exactly how to be intimate with Cassie, treating her like an object to control, not a person. With agency, the Punisher recalled how Cassie would see or sigh in discomfort every time Diddy made a grating suggestion.
Was this happening in your sessions?
Well, so it is an assumption, right? So, you know, obviously with the veil, there was a very deliberate attempt to hide his identity.
Yeah.
So they never had any interactions or even any outward conversation in my presence. So there was a routine where sometimes we'll be right in the middle of sex and he'll just stand up and walk out of the room. And she would take that cue and she would follow him out. So I did recognize, and you know, I mentioned it in my book, that it became a habit that we're having sex on couches with sheets. We started in towels. I would climax, but she would specifically leave the room without wiping herself, without doing anything to take care of the whatever I left on her. So I assumed that's when he popped up, because once I climbed up, he popped up, he left the room, she popped up, she followed him. So I'm assuming that's when the lathering, whatever went on, happened at that point.
Okay, so at what point did he stop wearing a veil?
It was shortly after. The way that I ended up finding out who he was and they were, because obviously in conjunction with each other, about the 5th time we were in a hotel called the Essex House. And when I would arrive for the sessions, I would be waiting around a couple of hours. So in this specific time, they put me into an extra room in the hotel suite. And to kill time, I decided to watch TV. And this specific hotel had a welcome message, which was, so when I cut on the TV, it specifically said, Essex House would like to welcome Mr. Sean Combs.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa, like I was blown away, man.
Right.
Mia Diddy's former assistant testified that she was not only blackmailed, but also sexually assaulted by him. Just like Cassie, a chilling list she wrote back in 2011 revealed how deeply trapped she was. Her job was to protect him at all times, fulfill his whims and moods, and juggle everything from cracking his knuckles to writing his next movie. She told the jury that during one, his eyes turned black, and it was like he was looking through me.
David Pilgrim, thanks for streaming with us here on ABC News Live. Week 3 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial has wrapped, and we should note this show will contain graphic content from the courtroom today. 5 witnesses testified this week, 2 former employees, a Los Angeles police officer, fire department investigator, and a celebrity stylist. The latest witness on the stand testifying under the pseudonym Mia, recounting her time as Combs' former assistant. Mia alleged working for Combs was chaotic, toxic, and dependent on his whim. She told the jury she feared she couldn't tell him no, testifying, "I felt I had to. I obeyed Puff's orders." Mia also saying Combs sexually assaulted her more than once, leaving her feeling terrified and confused and ashamed and scared. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His defense team says any sexual encounters were consensual. If convicted, Combs faces the possibility of life in prison.
By the way, interesting update from court. Sean Combs' counsel, Alexandra Shapiro, says some people on the internet think they figured out who Mia is. We got this video, again, that might be used to impeach her credibility. We got this video also from random people on the internet. We don't think this was ever posted on her social media. It was on some random website. Should we show it to you? I gotta ask you, I have to move on to this question, Serena. This is quite alarming. How is this possible?
I have no idea how it's possible, and I'm sure Mia is probably panicking in this moment in time. Like, are people stalking her on the internet, trying to figure out her identity? She testified that she was a victim, essentially. There's rape shield laws that exist to try to protect people in her position. And so this is really getting very nerve-wracking probably for her, and just absurd for the courtroom.
If someone revealed her identity, is that a crime, Tyler?
No, it's not a crime if somebody revealed her identity, especially if they're not a part of this case. The reason they have these confidentiality orders and protective orders is for the parties involved to do their best to protect a Jane Doe or anybody proceeding under a pseudonym's identity. It is possible for the public to learn their identity, but it's really the people who are part of the case who are agreeing to protect her confidentiality. Once she got on that stand, it's very possible that somebody knew her identity. What I find more troubling and less likely is if this video is being sent by random people on the internet, and that's what they want to proffer as evidence in this criminal trial, I find that hard to be admitted. If they could track the video from one person who could confirm the identity of the person, and then it could be used for impeachment evidence, that's different. But random people on the internet sending videos, that opens the door to a can of worms.
Another victim, a close friend of Cassie Brianna Bongolan, delivered one of the most shocking testimonies in the trial. She claimed that Sean Diddy Combs once dangled her off a 17th floor apartment balcony, a terrifying moment that left the courtroom stunned. She also testified that she personally witnessed Diddy throw a knife at her friend Cassie Ventura during one of his violent outbursts.
An alleged sex trafficking victim is expected to testify here today that Sean Combs used lies, drugs, and threats to force her into freak-offs after the jury hears more from a different woman who claims Combs hoisted her over that balcony. This morning, a critical witness for the prosecution, a woman testifying under the pseudonym Jane, who prosecutors say began a secret relationship with Sean Combs in 2020 and spent years in hotel rooms for forced sex. Jane's testimony will follow the cross-examination of Brianna Bongolan, known as Bana, who described years of drug use with her friend Cassie Ventura.
Cassie, all the way right!
And she testified Ventura FaceTimed her before the premiere of her movie The Perfect Match.
I want to try something new.
What did you see? Prosecutors asked. Her black eye, Bongolan said. I was a little quiet, and I remember saying, I'm sorry. Bongolan testified Combs once hoisted her over this balcony after barging into Ventura's apartment on the 17th floor. For a split second, I was thinking about if I was going to fall. She said Combs kept yelling at her, you know what the expletive you did, before throwing her onto this furniture, leaving bruises. Combs denied it happened, and the defense challenged her account.
We have some video of her as well. And so she has been testifying about a particular incident in which Sean Combs dangled her over a balcony. We have some full screens we can put up for you in which we're telling you a little bit about who Brianna is. Now, she goes by the name Bana. She's a friend of Cassie Ventura, who sued Combs in 2024 for allegedly groping her and dangling her over a balcony. She testified about this incident. So Cassie Ventura testified about this particular incident, testifying under an immunity order granted by the judge. So yes, Brianna is under immunity here, immunity order. She got on the stand earlier and she invoked the fifth. So the big thing, the big takeaway from her testimony is about being dangled over the balcony. Defense counsel has really been trying to tear her testimony apart, attacking her credibility as well as inconsistent statements they're saying that she has made as to where exactly this dangling incident took place, saying that Cassie Ventura said it happened in a hotel, but you're up here on the stand saying it happened in an apartment, basically indicating that her and Cassie are colluding together just in order to get money from Combs, because Brianna has filed a $10 million civil suit against Sean Combs.
Another victim, a close friend of Cassie Brianna Bongolan, delivered one of the most shocking testimonies in the trial. She claimed that Sean Diddy Combs once dangled her off a 17th floor apartment balcony, a terrifying moment that left the courtroom stunned. She also testified that she personally witnessed Diddy throw a knife at her friend Cassie Ventura during one of his violent outbursts. Isn't just about Diddy anymore. It's about how much power, money, and fear can silence victims, and whether justice can finally break through. With each day of the trial, more secrets come to light, and if that prosecution stays on course, this could finally be the end of Diddy's reign. Stay locked in, because this story is far from over.